Hi, this is Chris McKaylee, and today's podcast is on legislative oversight. One of the critical roles for the legislative branch of government is oversight, particularly in regards to the activities of the executive branch of state government. Fundamentally, I think oversight is intended to ensure government accountability and make certain that our state's tax dollars are spent properly and, of course, efficiently by the executive branch of state government. Back in 2017, Assembly Rules Committee Chair Ken Cooley released an oversight handbook and gave it to his legislative colleagues. This legislative oversight handbook provides a wonderful toolkit and offers some very useful advice to support legislative committees as they prepare to conduct oversight activities. He says that oversight is broadly defined as reviewing, monitoring, and supervising the implementation of public policy, and that these oversight hearings are intended to create basically a check and balance to the executive branch and its over 200 agencies, boards, and commissions that carry out policy. It also allows the legislative branch to ensure that these executive branch agencies are implementing the laws as intended by the legislative branch of government. Assemblyman Cooley went on to say that it's quite striking that done well and systematically, that oversight can be more impactful than merely passing new laws. Hopefully creates a renewed sense, if you will, by the legislature to exercise its responsibility as a co-equal branch of state government and fully utilize this oversight function. As an elected branch of the state government, oversight really allows the legislature to try and ensure that the executive branch is in fact implementing and staying on course with the state's priorities with legislative input. Now, there are basically two types of oversight hearings that the legislature can conduct. One that is purely informational in nature, and the other is investigatory in nature. The informational hearing basically allows legislators, obviously, to learn about a particular topic or perhaps the workings and jurisdiction of a particular state agency or department. These types of hearings are used to educate other legislators, even staff, members of the public who might listen in or somehow participate in those hearings. And again, these informational hearings are when the legislature wants to learn more either about a specific subject matter or the work of a particular department or agency of state government. On the other hand, the investigatory hearing is much more of a fact-finding effort by the legislature, and it is conducted to investigate or find out about something that has already happened. This type of hearing is one of the traditional hearings that you often see the Congress, the two houses of Congress go through, as well as the legislature and those of other states. And this is where the legislature tries to understand what has transpired. So maybe the legislature investigates procurements that went over budget or didn't abide by a timeline, or we've had a number, the California legislature that is, has had a number of oversight hearings regarding the impact of the pandemic on the unemployment insurance fund and payouts overseen by the state employment development department. So Assemblyman Cooley in that 2017 handbook says that in order to conduct a successful oversight hearing, it requires a commitment to first do research. And so in the handbook, he and his staff set forth a number of ways in which the legislature can successfully carry out these types of oversight hearings. If you look at the handbook, you'll see how invaluable it is to legislators and their staff, and of course, legislative committees of the Senate and the Assembly. After an introduction, it defines legislative oversight and provides a thorough discussion of the nuts and bolts of that oversight. It talks about the legislative rules that govern these oversight hearings. and how to coordinate and oversee that process. It also discusses the role of the Office of Legislative Counsel to collaborate in preparing for these hearings. It has a section on legal issues that are pertinent to investigatory hearings. It provides citations to relevant California statutes and other applicable laws. It has a wonderful FAQ set concerning rules, statutes, and case law governing oversight hearings. And then it talks about the committee rules for oversight or investigatory hearings, and then how to prepare briefing packets for the committee members. And then it ends on a subpoena policy note. So most importantly, I think that handbook emphasizes that there is adequate preparation for the legislative committee or committees to do the proper research so that they can thoroughly conduct the hearing and hopefully script it well enough to ensure that witnesses and other documents produced provide the information that will be most helpful to the legislative committee to get to the results or the answers that they're looking for. How to work with interested parties, interview potential witnesses, and conduct the valuable research. Again, as Assemblyman Cooley sets forth in the Legislative Oversight Handbook, he says it really requires extensive research and preparation. Fact-finding has to be done. You have to know what sort of questions to ask of the witnesses who will appear before the committee to ensure that the executive branch answers the questions that are necessary for the legislature in order for the legislature, of course, to act as that check and balance on the executive branch of state government. So this was just a little bit of information on legislative oversight hearings. I hope you found it helpful.